Hi everyone, welcome to the today's episode of A Conversation with a Friend. For full disclosure, this was the first podcast form conversation that I've done, and Damien, thank you so much for being indulging me with all of this. I really enjoyed talking to you. It was a lot of fun, and you made this quite easy. With that being said, I had to split this conversation into two parts. Primarily because we ended up talking for 2 hours, and frankly, all of it was good, but might be a little much to do in one go. Um, in this episode, we talk about his relationship with his family and his friends and how he's been able to maintain all of that. We talk about the combination of creativity and logic and the unique forms of art and recreational activities, which you can find that. And we talk about self improvement and discipline and finding perfection in those things in various forms of ideas. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation, and if you do, please click the like and subscribe button. And I hope you guys come back for part two because, yeah, it gets a lot deeper and more philosophical the more we talk with each other. Anyways, enjoy. Damien, it's like you don't mind me calling you Damien for all of this, right? All
Yep, that's cool.
right.
If we could keep my last name out of it, but that'd be awesome. But
Absolutely. All right. Yeah, I don't think I could even say it right, so we're good.
sounds good.
Yeah, okay. So Damien, well, first of all, thanks for having this conversation with me. Secondly, do you want to just explain, give your background and a little bit about yourself? Like, how would you describe yourself to people?
uh, yeah. So, like I said, my name is Damien. I am 28 years old. Have a degree in computer science. Minor in philosophy, which a lot of people seem to find a bit weird. But yeah, I love the theory and thinking about things like that. I consider myself quite a big nerd, um, and I'm happy of that.
Right.
Um, and uh, yeah, I've grown up here in the city for my entire life, lived here entire life. Moved away for a couple years while going to university. Um, but besides that, I've kind of stayed here in this little bubble the entire time.
Sorry, where did you go to university? Like which province or?
Oh, yeah, I went to University of Lethbridge,
Oh,
Alberta.
I genuinely did not know that.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Why
Uh,
did you choose Lethbridge?
um, Couple factors. My sister went there.
Hmm.
Um, they have or supposedly have a very good education program. And my sister went there to become a teacher. Um, and when she moved there, my parents um, managed to get um, a condo that they rented out to her and a couple of friends. And between her, so she's 6 years older than me, so there was 2 years between her going to university and me going to university.
Right.
Um, and so in those 2 year gap, they just kept the condo, yeah, with renters in it.
Hmm.
And so when it was my time to choose where I was going, um, I was looking for computer science courses, um, and Lethbridge seemed to have a decent course, as well as already kind of had the living situation figured out,
Right.
which certainly helps. You know, when you don't have to pay rent,
Yeah.
that's a, a definite bonus.
Solid
So yeah,
criteria.
yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Are you particularly close with your family then? Given everything that you just said?
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't say we're like incredibly tight knit, like some people. but yeah, there's we all get along together, thankfully. Um, it's it's all you know happy vibes when we're all together. And I try to see try to at least see them in person. I guess like at least once a week.
Hmm.
Um,
So,
yeah.
sorry, when you say not like some people, what is your idea of like incredibly tight knit? Like eat, breathe, and sleep family? Is that is that what you mean, or?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess. Yeah, yeah. I don't really know. I guess I just have a conceived notion where it's like where some people are like family is everything and is what comes first at all
Hmm.
times.
Right.
Um, and well, my family does definitely approach the top
Hmm.
of the
Right.
list. Um, yeah, I think that some things you know got to do by myself for stuff like that. I think,
Hmm.
and yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. But like, would you deem like okay, I'm making a big assumption here. Maybe I'm incorrect about
Oh
this.
no, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, but I'm assuming you want a family in the future of your own, right? Like you don't want to be like single your whole life and all that other good jazz, or do you want to be single your whole life? Sorry, I don't want to assume what your criteria is for the future.
No, all good. Yeah, that's actually a question I've kind of been asking myself a lot.
Hmm.
Because I mean, so I dated a lot and everything in like high school, and like I had like 2 year relationship through junior high, followed immediately by another like 3 year relationship, followed immediately by like another 3 year relationship.
Right.
Um, and
Jesus, dude, you're a catch.
no,
Sorry, I
no,
had to say
but
that in the middle of that. Wow, okay. Nice.
I do not mean that in a bragging sense
No,
at
I know,
all.
I
By
know,
the
I
way,
know. I'm just
I
impressed. That's just me showing the
um,
impression.
but I think I spent a lot of my adolescence with a partner.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't think I really figured out who I was
Hmm.
for quite a while.
Right.
Um, and so the past like 5 years or so being single, um, I'm kind of like I'm super late to the game. I feel like, but I'm actually kind of like figuring that out, um, which is nice. Um, I like it. I'm quite a introvert,
Right.
and I like my alone time. That's not to say that I don't also like being with friends or family or anything. It's just a good way I've heard it described is that when an introvert is recharged, like a battery is recharged when they're alone,
Hmm.
whereas an extrovert is recharged when they're with people.
Hmm.
And so, and I find that very fitting is that it's exhausting to be around other people. Um, and so, yeah, I guess more and more I think about it, I'm actually not entirely sure. Um, like I'm not actively pursuing any relationship right now.
Hmm. Right.
Um, and yeah, I I could definitely see myself, getting married, the whole shebang, um, having kids and all that. But like I said, not actively pursuing it, and it to me it would kind of have to be one of those things where it it would have to make sense in the moment and would almost have to kind of naturally come to me, at least right now.
Hmm.
In the future, in a couple years, I might think differently and then start to actively search it out. Um,
Honestly, what you're saying sounds like the healthiest thing to me, because it indicates you're happy with yourself, but at the same time, you're not willing on limiting yourself maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I'm seeing it. You're not really on like limiting yourself if something else comes along, but
yeah,
just
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Like I'm not like I'm not dead set at all on being single. That's not
yeah.
necessarily a life choice that way. Um, but but yeah, just I guess not actively searching.
So I gotta ask. So when you said like it took you because you were single for 5 years and it wasn't until that period that you started figuring yourself out. What do you think was the biggest difference there in regards to like did you start focusing on yourself more, or, like self-development and stuff, or was it something else, just being by yourself that helped to do that? Like, or is it something else entirely? Am I? I'm just curious.
um, yeah, I think I and I think as humans we all do this by being around other people. Part of your identity becomes your environment, and
Hmm.
so as you know if you're with someone every day or nearly every day for a couple of years, I mean your personality is going to slightly shift towards theirs, and theirs probably towards yours, um and yeah, I guess in that time afterwards I kind of realized that I was just I was kind of just absorbing them, and yeah, not really being myself, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, or that I was just, going by trying to make them happy and not really what made me happy or whatever. Um, yeah, and that's yeah. So I think that yeah, at the end of the day, you know, learning what makes me happy, um, and keeping in mind that all of that's coming in the time of you know adolescence, like teenage and young 20s,
Yeah.
that's the time to like learn about yourself as it is. So
Yeah.
all of that combined kind of just melded into me at the end of all of that, going, you know what, I need some time to myself to figure stuff out.
No, no, that makes a lot of sense. I think I've met plenty of people that even now they don't really know that or understand how to do that. So like, you should be very proud. That's amazing. I
Yeah,
recently had a moment where I started questioning myself and why I do things, right? And it can turn into a spiral. It really can. So taking a moment to breathe always makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of
yeah,
sense.
for sure.
So,
um
the nerd thing. So you said you're a nerd, like you proudly
yeah.
identify yourself as one. Was that something that you figured out in that 5 year gap, or was that something that's always been there and like, you've always been proud of it? Or
um that's kind of always been in my thing, I guess. So I think it started pretty young. Um, my sister is quite like I said, she went into education, but she did education and linguistics,
hmm.
um, and so she's very much the sit down and read a book in a day, um, like that type of nerdy, if you will, although she doesn't really call herself nerdy at all.
Rare,
Um,
right?
she's yeah, she's very opposite to me in that sense. She's very extroverted. Um, she works with mentally ill children
Hmm.
for a living. Um, very good at it, and yeah, very social. Um, however, she struggled through math all throughout school.
Hmm.
Um, and both my parents, um, my dad being an engineer and my mom being an accountant, are very mathematically minded. um, and they wanted a kid that was also like that, I guess. Um, and so in grade three, so I would have been 6 or 7.
Mhm.
Um, they enrolled me in Kumon, and I don't know if you're aware of
Oh,
what Kumon is.
I'm brown. I definitely know what Kumon is.
Okay. Well, for those that don't know, it's additional learning, if you will.
Mhm,
Um, and yeah, and so I went through. I did Kumon up until grade 10, I
mhm.
think,
Right.
before I told my parents I didn't want to do it again.
That must
Um,
have been a hard conversation, eh?
and yeah, um, but so that definitely I don't know because I feel like I was also like very scientific minded before doing that, but I mean, I it would be a disservice to deny that that helped shape um, how mathematically minded I am because I
Mhm.
did it for so long.
Right.
Um, and then recent, like I guess fairly soon after that, um, I did a bunch of like summer camps between school years.
Mhm.
Um, I guess for my parents, it's kind of just you know a little bit more pricey daycare, but
Fair
yeah. So
enough.
um, I did a bunch of summer camps that were like with the YMCA, which is just go off into like some like campsite that they have for a couple weeks and
Mhm.
you know run around, play games, and just kind of wear the kids out for a while. Um, and then I started showing interest in the science type stuff like that.
Mhm.
And so they put me into a bunch of summer camps with the university. Um, and there, uh, they had one day it was a week long camp. Um, I can't remember whatever it is, but one of the days they sat us down and for a couple hours we were in like a computer lab.
Mhm.
Um, and they just kind of let us play around with whatever programs they had installed there. Um, but one of them being Game Maker, which is a I guess a video game engine,
Mhm.
if you will. Very rudimentary. It's like you know import sprites so you can make like Pac-Man and stuff. It was
Oh,
not very
is this like RPG Maker?
yeah, very very similar.
Oh, cool.
I actually think it was like the predecessor to that.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, keep in mind this was 19 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, fair
um
enough.
so yeah, very very rudimentary. um but I think that is when my um when I started to realize that like it wasn't just oh this is cool next. It was like I that night I went home and I downloaded it and started playing with it myself and yeah that was kind of the start into my love for programming.
Right.
um and yeah and then
Dude, you got that at a
yeah
very early age. Like, that's
I did.
awesome.
I was exposed very early to it, and I was yeah. So I read all throughout my uh, school years and everything. I pretty much knew exactly what I wanted to do
Yeah.
coming out of school and into university.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Man, that's amazing.
yeah, yeah. I was fortunate enough for that. Um, yeah, other nerdy things is yeah, I was kind of generally known as a nerd throughout school.
Hmm.
Um,
But like not in a rude
I,
way, right? Like 'cause I know kids can be ruthless.
oh yeah, no, kids can be brutal, absolutely. Um, but I mean, I was teased, I guess, but I there was at no, I don't think I was. I've never bullied or anything.
Oh, good.
Um, I had a good group of friends that were all like-minded, I guess.
Hmm.
We stuck to our group and didn't really let other people bother us. But yeah, I don't even think there was that much bullying at all in the schools that I went to, or at least if there was, I wasn't wasn't aware to me. I guess.
Right.
Thankfully, I suppose.
Hey, you know what? That's amazing, right? Like you got to live your best self, or at least what you felt like your best self was, without too much interference, from the sounds of it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that can't be undervalued at all. That's
Hmm.
awesome. So you're still probably in touch with a lot of those people, right? That you like grew up with in like high school and junior high, if you've been in Calgary your whole life and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I People I still hang out with regularly are people I met in. You know, I met a couple people in grade three.
Damn.
Most of the same group is. We all met in grade 7 or 8. Yeah, 7. I want to
Hmm.
say.
Right.
So yeah, I like I my roommates are in. I met them in grade 7. So
Right. Hmm. That's awesome.
yeah,
Uh,
it's
do you feel like do you ever reflect back on like where that relationship started versus where it is now, and think about like, just how much you two guys have all grown together, and like how much has actually changed?
yeah, yeah, it's pretty wild. I don't want to
Yeah, yeah,
call
yeah.
them out,
No, no,
but
no, no. Fair enough, fair
so I'm
enough.
not gonna say names, but
Of course.
like my roommates.
Hmm.
I mean, one of them. So they're uh, man and a woman married. Um, but I used to date the woman
Hmm.
um, back in grade uh, 8. It was young kid dating, so it was like, oh my gosh, we're holding hands. Um,
Always the most exciting thing, dude. At this
yeah,
age, are you kidding?
yeah,
I'd rather hold a hand.
yeah, and then called it off,
Hmm.
and then dated again in throughout university.
Hmm.
Um, and so I mean, there's definitely like I want to say there was some tension, but
Hmm.
even throughout that time where we stopped dating, like between the two dating times,
Right.
we were best friends.
Hmm.
Um, she's still an amazing friend to me today.
Hmm.
Like there's no hard feelings at all. Um, which I'm super thankful for. Because I don't feel like a lot of people get that.
Yeah, no, honestly, that speaks
Um,
volumes about both of you as people. But if you were to like advise other people on like how to have that type of relationship with an ex, is there anything that you would suggest? Or do you think it's like
oh,
so specific based on the fact that you two are like we're in such a good place anyways and such good friends that it just ended up working out that way?
yeah, I think it was a couple combinations of the yeah, we were friends before that.
Hmm.
Um, we were friends during, and then when I think we both realized that when we split, it was a realization that I think we were both at different points in our life.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I had just come out of university and she finished a year earlier than I did.
Mhm.
Um, and so she had gotten a job in her field,
Mhm.
you know, was looking to buy a place, looking to get a pet of her own, et cetera, et cetera. And I had just come out of university, was still looking for a job, was still living with my parents. Um, and yeah, I think we were just at different points in our life at
Mhm.
that point.
Right.
Um, and so, yeah, I mean, of course, I think all breakups, hurt a bit when they happen,
Yeah.
but but with a little bit of like retrospection, it was definitely the best move.
Right.
um, and and even throughout all that, like my my feelings was as long as as long as they're happy,
Mhm.
then I can find some happiness even in that.
Dude, you're
And
gonna make me tear up a little bit, dude.
uh,
No, that's amazing.
sorry, I didn't mean to get emotional, but
No, no, I want you to. That's awesome. No, that's fantastic.
yeah, and I think it was just that mindset
Mhm.
because it could have definitely gone a well, fine, I'm gonna shut myself out, screw you.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I went in with a very, I guess, positive mindset.
Yeah.
Um,
And
that
you know what? To me, genuine love is exactly that. And I don't mean love in the sense like, oh, I'm falling for this person, but like genuinely caring and about the people around you. It's exactly that. You just want to see them happy, right? It
yeah,
has nothing to do
yeah,
with what you're getting out of it. It's just you want to see the people around you happy.
exactly. Yeah, it was exactly that. It was, a realization that that was the best move
Hmm.
for both her and I.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and then yeah, the thinking of it yeah, realizing that it was the best move, and that gave me some happiness.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
So, I think I presented this to you earlier anyways, but would you define that as one of the moments that like, key in making you who you are today? Or do you think there's other moments in your life that really speak to that? Because to me, when I talk to you and when I look at you, I feel like you're a very self-confident person. And I think it's an attribute that's like it's hard for people to get to like very happy with yourself and who you are. I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, then do tell. But that's the impression I get from you. Like you're very sincere in the way you present yourself for that reason, and it's
um,
just interesting to hear about.
yeah. So I honestly, I think that mindset
Hmm.
has definitely only been a recent thing.
Oh, okay.
Um, I was very self-conscious, very. I mean, I don't want to say depressed, but
Hmm.
like, I wasn't the I wasn't in the greatest mindset all the time.
Right. Hmm.
And I think yeah, that kind of set off the the motion of kind of discovering who I am, I guess.
Hmm.
Like I said, so that was the last relationship that I've been in. And so after that, I said, you know what? Take time for yourself. Do what you got to do for yourself. And so that was certainly a key moment in that mental shift,
Hmm.
I suppose. Um, Another thing um, is, I suppose, this is gonna sound real nerdy as well.
Dude, I'm a nerd too. Go
um,
for it.
Couple years ago, would have been late 2019, I suppose. So
Mhm. Pre-COVID.
just yeah, yeah, just over 2 years ago. Um, I had a friend that we went to high school with,
Hmm.
um, and I'd been friends and friendly with him throughout that entire time, but I didn't really know him all too well.
Hmm.
Um, and during that time, that like 2.5 2 years ago or so, um, we were both out of work, and so we started hanging out a bit more. And um, he invited me to a D&D game,
Hmm.
um, and that I think that was another big point in my life, at least what I think of now, because I I don't know, I had never been introduced to that sort of thing before. Um, I wasn't really comfortable with the the improv or even just talking that much.
Right.
And it was a weird like before this, my creative writing schools, like opposing my sisters. My sister was um, quite bad at math throughout school.
Hmm.
My parents put me into Kumon, and I was quite good at math, but I was not good at all in the like English and history and that sort of thing.
Right.
Um, and honestly, in the past couple of years of doing D&D, my like reading comprehension and short story writing and all that kind of thing, as like it has been the best teaching tool, I think, even including all of school.
Wow.
Um,
Nice.
yeah, I can't recommend it more because of how much it has impacted uh, that sort of like thing to me.
Yeah, what I'm gonna get out of this is try more D&D. That's the biggest lesson learned here. All
I
right.
I honestly I would recommend everybody at least try it.
Try it. So for your D&D games, are they in person or are they online now with like COVID and stuff going on?
So they have always been online.
Okay.
I have never done a game in person, although I am planning to run one myself
Oh.
in a bit, coming soon.
Is that
um,
like graduation for you where you're like running your own game? Or have you already
yes.
run? Okay.
So I've um, yeah, okay. We'll go back, give some more story.
Sure.
Um,
I love stories.
um, yeah. So every single game that I've been a part of has always been people that were in um, multiple cities.
Hmm.
Um, and so it has always been online. Um, like we have people uh, in our current game, we have people in BC, Alberta, and Ontario,
Damn.
and so sometimes scheduling is a bit annoying because you got 3 hours difference between
Yeah.
the two extremes, but
Hmm.
we make it work, and yeah, so it's always been online using a website called Roll20. Um, and then last year, um, it has always been uh, one DM running the games, and so I said that I was, you know, here I'll do a game um, for one of our sessions just to give you a rest,
Hmm.
and so I ended up buying a book and running a game out of it, um, which ended up leading to a year-long campaign
Right.
that I was not prepared for at all. Um, and like I had no knowledge or like nothing of where this was going. I didn't have any plan whatsoever.
Hmm.
And I mean, I guess that's like kind of what you sign up for is, your players are going to do whatever they want, and you got to figure out how to uh, how to corral them.
Man, the
Um,
creative juices must be insane for this.
yeah, and but it led into a, oh no, I'm running a campaign tomorrow. Let's sit down and just write an entire short story tonight, kind of thing.
Yeah.
um,
Jeez.
and I was procrastinating on it a lot,
Hmm.
and I mean that's not just the D&D. That's my entire life. I feel like, at least academically.
Oh,
Um,
dude, university has taught us how to
I'm
procrastinate so
oh,
well.
absolutely. um, and yeah, and so I recently realized that at least at that campaign wasn't wasn't doing it for me. So I said like, go back to our old DM and just, hey, can you run a game while I, try to figure some stuff out and
Right.
at least come up with like a more comprehensive story.
Hmm.
Um, and uh, and yeah, and now I've been definitely wanting to do, like, I've been thinking about it. I've got a bit of a storyboard written up for a game that I want to do in person. Um, and I guess that idea came on is when I got like a 3D printer. Um, and I don't know exactly why, but I guess I just got recommended it. I was like, searching D&D stuff online when that those games started. And I
Right.
guess YouTube, the algorithm just started spitting out like D&D stuff to me.
You know what? The
Um,
Overlord knows what you want, so.
exact, exactly. Um, so yeah, the algorithm started spitting out these videos to me, and I got hooked. Um, like wanting to make minis and paint minis and all that sort of thing. So I ended up getting a 3D printer, and yeah, now I'm wanting to go overboard.
You know what? That's awesome, and like that's amazing. Finding a passion like that. Wow.
Yeah, and I've also recently like I don't even know exactly what caused that kind of idea
Right.
shift.
Hmm.
Um, but there was maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, um, and I don't know if it was watching things like Adam Savage's Tested YouTube channel or whatever,
Hmm.
um, that are, you know, the idea of just being a maker, and
Right.
no matter what you make, it, just clump everything. You make all sorts of things. Um, and I I really enjoyed that. I guess, like my dad has a bunch of woodworking tools um, in his garage and everything, and so I started tinkering with that.
Hmm.
Um, like, you know, made a table and a chair here and there, and then um, ended up getting into cosplay, um,
Yeah, I've seen
making
your
an
jacket. That was sick.
yeah, making an armor stand. I don't know if you've seen my full demon cosplay.
No, you're gonna have to
Um,
show me this at
I'll,
some
I
point.
can send you some photos if you want.
That would be amazing.
um, but yeah, the smelter demon from Dark Souls 2. Um,
Nice.
and yeah, I guess that has become a fairly large chunk of my identity is being a maker.
Yeah. Honestly, this for me at least, this is relating so back to what you said about like, the developer stuff, how that kicked in with you. Because isn't that very similar in that you're like trying to figure out how to make something, and then as soon as you're done, you can see the results of it all, and then it's right there in front of you, and your creativity needs to be used to like start connecting all of those things together. Or maybe I might be overthinking all of this.
Yeah, I could definitely see that for sure. Yeah, I think even with, although I suppose with like the coding, it's very much like a puzzle.
Hmm.
Um, all of those, you know, you- this many, matchsticks, and they write out like 1 + 2 = 3 or whatever, and it's like move one matchstick to make the equation work out, or stuff like that. All of those types of like weird little puzzles, not necessarily jigsaw, but just puzzles
Hmm.
in general. Um, those in school were always like the things that captured me the most.
Hmm.
It was always like, sit down and write out your times tables. Like that's boring.
Yeah,
um,
there's no explanation behind
and
that. Just do it.
and it works for sure. That Kumon, that's exactly what Kumon is. Sit down and write out your times tables like 4,000 times.
So
Um,
yeah, I did maths Kumon, so I hated it
okay,
so much. Dude, I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie,
yeah.
I used to like take some like Kumon pages and stuff and like hide them around the house and then like pretend like I did it all. Yeah, I was a savage that way, like not good. I wouldn't recommend that to any kids to do that. But we still find them like little pages of Kumon in like random areas of the house and they're like, "How many did you hide?" I was like, it was bad.
Oh, I never went to that extent of hiding them, but yes, I was very like I hated it as well.
Yeah.
Um, I hated it in the moment, but looking back, it did me very well.
No, for sure, for sure. But
um,
like you sound like a really good blend of like creative critical thinking and then applying logic because I feel like that logic stuff is like inherent in you. It's just something that you go to, but the creative stuff is like beyond that. It's like it's interesting. I don't meet many people like that. The more I'm talking to you, the more I'm like connecting those dots and it's like it's very interesting to me.
well, so I mean I've had a lot of people say that I'm creative in that sense,
Hmm.
but I don't see that at all.
Right.
I struggle with being creative, at least in my own head. Um, but to me, and to me, everything has to be like logically defined.
Right.
um, and so like anytime I'm doing mini painting or anything, I've got like 5 websites up that are like color pickers and like the mathematical like formula for, if you're picking this color green, then this color yellow suits well with it. Like I'm like it has to be like meticulously planned out like that. Otherwise, like I can't just sit down and be like, yeah, let's slop some red here, some blue here. Like I can't do that at all. Um
That's freaking
and
hilarious, actually.
And, yeah, and it's like one thing that I've thought about. I can't remember if this was an example that I've heard somewhere or if this just popped into my head one day. But like D&D, let's say you want to create a village that is full of people that worship like a bird type god.
Hmm.
The idea is like what does that mean? Is like sure, what there's birds everywhere, but
Right.
that means that those people in the town are probably like, they're not going to be like a New Yorker walking down the street and kicking a pigeon. Like they're going to like actively praise this bird, etc., etc. Probably means that the cleaning in the streets is going to have to be a lot better, which might
Hmm.
mean that the health in the city in general is better. They
Right.
have a better healthcare system because of it. They're like all this sorts of things is like to me it's all just it has to be logical. And yeah.
God,
And
you
so
would
yeah, yeah.
you would hate random people. People that are like chaotic, you know? Why are you doing this? I don't know. I'm just doing it. I'm like,
Just because
yeah, I
yeah.
feel like it. Oh, that's fantastic. You know what? That's actually really interesting to me. So, when you're like looking at like the best painting and so on and so forth, is it out of a desire to have like the, perfect job done? Like, do you consider yourself a bit of a perfectionist, or is it more of you feel like that there is like a right path to some of these things, and you just want to be as close to that path as possible?
Oh, absolutely. um, yeah, no, so many paintings, stuff like that. It's like I'll get like 90% done, and then they'll sit in the pile of shame for a year, and it
Okay,
won't get done because I can't see in that moment what needs to happen in order to get it to that 100%.
yeah.
And that's and that problem is that it does need to get to that 100%. I'm not happy with it at the 90.
Right.
Um, and yeah, so yeah, there's definitely a form of perfectionist in that stuff.
Okay, so
Um,
I gotta ask for paintings though, what what deems the quality of 100%, right? Because I thought art was subjective. To be clear, I don't know shit about art, so like I'm asking this without knowing anything.
all good. Um, so for me, like 100% is like if I define 100% is as the best that I can do.
Okay.
Um, so that could be that my 100% could be somebody's 20%, some amazing artist that is far superior to me.
Mm-hmm.
My 100% could be their 20,
Right.
or I my 100% could be somebody's not achievable, or at least not achievable at that time. And so my 100% grows as as I practice more and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I get better
Mm-hmm.
at it. My 100% might grow. So I might get something to 100%, go, oh, this looks amazing, put it on a shelf, come back a year later and go,
Just dog shit.
ooh.
Yeah, exactly.
I- But I think everybody who has ever made anything has, that sort of feeling is that, oh man, I could do so much better.
Yes, I've gone the
Um,
I've gone the opposite way sometimes, where like Little Dabber was like so much better than current current D, and I'm like, well, the hell happened to me?
I mean, there's always that as well. Um, but yeah, so when I say like, yeah, 100% is the best that I can do.
Yeah.
Um, and what I typically end up doing is it's not like if I say I get something to 90%
Mm-hmm.
of whatever. What it usually means is that I get certain parts of it to
Right.
100,
Hmm.
and then I just don't touch other parts.
Right.
Um, I don't know whether it's fear of screwing up the parts that I've already done and I think are like perfect and
Hmm.
don't need to be touched. um, or I mean, there's huge parts of monotony across a lot of art.
Hmm.
Like like for a lot of things is you get very close in the first, you know, 10 to 20%,
Hmm.
and then the next 60% or so is it looks worse, but you just kind of have to trust yourself.
Right. Okay.
Um and then you get to that, like, you're approaching the 80, 90, 100% where it just a tiny little couple tiny little details of being super finicky and all that can like make it look amazing.
Hmm.
um and yeah, I don't know if it probably is that getting between that monotonous part of you combine the monotony, so it's like, you know this is my passion, I love doing this, but it's still boring.
Yeah.
And then combine that with the fact of, I have to trust myself through this process.
Right.
I don't know exactly what it's going to look like at the end, and yeah, and so combine those two of this is boring and I don't know if I trust myself enough to do this.
Hmm.
I think that's where a lot of the failings come in, or not failings, but why I end up putting things on pause, quote
Yeah.
unquote, indefinitely.
Right, like it's not meeting your expectations, right? Like in
Yeah.
that regard. Okay, that's interesting. So, the other thing I wanted to ask about, and I think this is really closely related to all of this, is like, I know you've done like the shiny hunting in Pokemon, and you went like above and beyond for all of that. Do you see, do you deem that in a similar way, where it's like, some of it feels like meticulous and stuff, but as you're getting closer and closer, like every time you do it, you feel like you're getting closer to that achievement or that reward. So, like, what inspires that in you?
Um. Yeah. I I like to actually explain it is very similar to how I play. Like, so yeah, Pokemon. My two favorite games
Yeah.
are like game franchises are Pokemon and Dark Souls,
Right.
which are two
Dude.
very polar opposites.
Yeah, nah, you sound like a Sadicus.
Um, and, but that's the thing. Like you said, I shiny hunt in Pokemon,
Yes.
and I will bash my head in for hours trying to beat a boss in Dark Souls.
Hmm.
But the payoff in both of them, when you finally get that shiny, or when you finally beat something that you've been trying for hours,
Hmm.
that payoff for me is so worth it in those instances. And I mean, shiny hunting is a lot more luck.
Yeah, of course.
um, but it's one of those things of, you know the odds. This is how long it takes per encounter.
Yes. Y-
um, you can estimate it should take me approximately this long.
Yeah.
Um, you might get lucky and get it in 10 minutes. You might get unlucky and get it in 10 months.
You know what? I'm gonna get a little deeper here, but I think that even though, like, with shiny hunting and Pokemon, even though a lot of it is luck, right? You're still able to also focus on like what's in your control. So like finding a faster method to do a certain part of it or something like that. And I feel like that's similar for Dark Souls and games like that, where you're like just continuously trying different things or figuring out different methods to increase that
Yes,
efficiency.
for sure, for sure. And then, sometimes you want you want to challenge yourself.
Yeah.
Um, I've done runs of Dark Souls where you only use shields, so no weapons.
Jesus.
And and to that, I guess you can relate it to purposely not using those like shiny hunting methods of increasing your odds. Is full odds hunters pride themselves in
Yeah.
getting some shinies
Hmm.
exactly like that at full
Full odds.
odds.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, there's definitely a parallel of like, you know what, I'm going to challenge myself today, and in the Dark Souls sense, it's I'm going to challenge my capabilities.
Yeah.
Um, and then in the Pokemon sense, it's I'm going to challenge my patience.
Dude, how do you find the
And
discipline for that though? Like I understand like wanting the desire to challenge yourself, but just finding the patience to do all of that, that's like where does that come from? Is that from like thoughts about the final goal there? Or is it something else like I don't know. Like I don't know, like when I work out and stuff, right? I start feeling it when I'm working out, like if I'm not working out. Right? And that's where
mhm.
I find the discipline for that. Or when I'm trying to like, I do extreme diets like a lot of the time, and I enjoy that because of exactly that. Like I know what the end result is. But is that the same for shiny hunting in Pokemon and for like trying to beat that boss? It's just the reward feels so good that like the discipline just automatically brings itself out. Or do you do something else to find that?
um, yeah, I guess for me, you like way back before playing, um, so I didn't recently start shiny hunting in like I haven't always been a shiny hunter.
Right.
I got my first Game Boy and a copy of Pokemon Red when I was 3.
Damn.
Because yeah, it came out in 1996. So yeah,
Yeah.
I would have been I would have been 3. Um, and I, you know, as all 3-year-olds would, struggled. through that game.
Yeah.
Um, and but that game doesn't have shinies. It's
Hmm.
black and white.
Yep. Well,
Um,
reddish.
well,
Right?
yes, I had a Game Boy Color, but it's like there's like four colors in the game. Let's be
True,
honest.
true, true.
Um,
I miss those days. Anyways.
yeah. Um, and then yeah, played the next game, which has like a guaranteed shiny, the shiny Gyarados.
Hmm.
Um, and I was like, oh, that's cool, and that was it. Um, that never that was never a thing that I just I thought it was I'll randomly come across one,
Right.
and to this day I have never come across a random shiny. I have only ever hunted for shiny. I've only ever come across a shiny when I've actively been in the mindset of I am hunting a shiny.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I've had some show up in like 10 encounters, but
Yeah.
that was me sitting down and going, I am actively doing this.
That's so funny.
Um and I guess I when I got like because the very first shiny I hunted would have been in I guess second it was right when X and Y came out.
Right.
Is I decided to shiny hunt for a Aegislash.
Hmm.
Um and I was old enough to like go online. Like I was what 19 or 20 at the time.
Right.
Um, old enough to like go online and figure out like how does shiny hunting work. And at that point, I realized that there was a easier method, um,
Hmm.
Masuda method with eggs. So I could bring it down from a 1 in 400, 4,000 chance to 1 in 500.
Hmm.
And I was like, you know what? That is a good starting point for me.
Hmm.
Um, Start easy, where it's not going to take you, you know, like 500 hours
Right.
to get something of notice. Because I think if I did just jump into the deep end, I would not have uh, would not have continued at all.
Hmm. Right.
Um, so I started like found a trade online, got a Japanese Ditto, and sat down and had a shiny within like 2 days or something like that.
Hmm.
And then sat down with a different type, had another shiny in like a couple more days, and realized, hey, this is reasonable. This is cool. Um, like I don't have to spend too long. I
Right.
had heard horror stories of like people going for some crazy shinies. I ended up taking them like close to a year, or if not more. I
Jesus,
was like,
that's
I
so
was like, I
unlucky.
do not. I was like, I do not have the patience for that.
Y-
I
Yeah.
don't.
Right.
Um,
Hmm.
and I think doing it more and more,
Hmm.
I then started going, okay, well, what about shiny hunting this different type of Pokemon that can't be used via this method?
Hmm.
And therefore it's at a harder difficulty, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, and moved on to a couple stuff like that. And I think honestly, just doing it and practice. And I like to like a lot of things in life is just like if you're not good enough right now,
Hmm.
with enough practice you can be.
Right.
Um, and honestly, with the shiny hunting in Pokemon and the playing Dark Souls, I have I that is me training my patience in
Hmm.
that sense.
No,
Um,
I completely see that. That's amazing. Actually, when you put it that way, I think there's a lot that can be taken from that as well, right? Because you found something you're truly passionate about, right? And you enjoy doing that, and then you're pushing yourself to the bar, to the limit with that. And I know that like most people equate that to like easier things like, oh, I'm losing weight and stuff, where it's the result is more direct. But
yeah,
in this, the result might not be more direct, but it's really the path you're taking which makes it so exciting. And I think for most people, it's when they actually achieve a result of something, like there's a moment of relief or satisfaction. but it's
Hmm.
usually this is gonna sound so metaphorical. It's usually the journey that actually like creates the adventure in it all, right? And
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, and I think about like that kind of mindset for a lot of things, if not everything.
mhm.
Like nobody just goes to the gym and bench presses 500 pounds. Like
Yes.
like start small, practice.
Yes.
Whether you're building muscle or losing weight
Or working on a
or
relationship, same thing.
working on a relationship, exactly, or shiny hunting in Pokemon. Like it can all come down to if it's something you care about,
Yeah.
you can put in the time and the practice to get better at it.
Mhm. Hi everyone. Thank you for listening. That's the end of part 1. Part 2 will be up tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time.